Hey, Dr. Brown. It might just be us. All right, we are going to be starting with our virtual workshop titled Learning About the FAFSA and Financial Aid. Thank you for those of you who could make it to today's virtual workshop. We would definitely be sending out the recording and posting it to our YouTube channel in case anyone would like to go back and just review anything that we have said. So let's get started because I definitely want to end on time. So, just a little bit about me. I am the founder of Pre-College Solutions, a college readiness coaching and consulting company. I've been in youth development for over 25 years, 15 of those years dedicated to college prep. I consider myself an expert in this field, but I'm learning and learning every day as our government changes every day. Also was able to co-author a book called You Can Go to College for Free with another colleague. Currently am mentoring over 15 college students. I am a wife and a toddler mom. So I do too much. In today's presentation, we're going to do a quick little icebreaker about the FAFSA. Then we're going to break down the FAFSA process, the biggest FAFSA errors, best practices, Q&A, and we're also going to be looking at what an awards letter looks like. So there was a poll given prior to us started recording this workshop, and it was my way of testing where everyone's financial aid and financial FAFSA and financial aid literacy was. And so I'm gonna go ahead and go over those questions and review the answer. It's only 6 questions. Um, Question number one, during senior year of high school, is it a requirement for everybody to complete the FAFSA? And the answer is it depends on the state or the university. And what I mean is certain states mandate that every student who graduates from public high school has to complete the FAFSA. I know that's a law in Texas. There's like four states that I know of where that is a mandate. So in order for students to graduate, they have to complete the FAFSA, whether they are going to college or not. And then on the other side, about 95% of the universities that any student plans on attending requires that you do the FAFSA if you plan on seeking any aid for them. And if you want to opt out of the FAFSA, which most people uh, don't realize, you can't opt out of the FAFSA, but it is a lot of paperwork, a lot of just extraness that you would have to do to opt out, and the easier option is just to do the FAFSA. Now, some private universities, instead of the FAFSA, they may ask you to complete what is called the CSS. The it is basically it's basically a private school's version of the FAFSA because they have large endowments. They can give out money at will. They don't necessarily need the federal government's money. So they have come up with their own process, which I think is one of the questions later on. Number two, have you heard of the CSS, what I was just talking about? It's probably why I started going into it. The CSS profile stands for College Scholarship Service Profile, and it's an online application that helps colleges determine a student's eligibility for non-federal financial aid. Like I said earlier, it's similar to the FAFSA. Uh, Mostly it's done for private schools and Ivy League schools. They are heavy on the CSS. They come up with the whole format and they don't base it off of financial need as much as the FAFSA does. And so they can determine who they want to give money to, how much money they want to give it to if you decide to go to their school. I suggest anybody who does have to encounter doing a CSS, get somebody to walk with you through it because it is very time consuming. It asks for so much information, so much financial information. It is not as simple as doing the FAFSA application. And so the last time I helped a student with it was a couple of years ago, and I mean it was asking for W-2s, it was asking for statements from parents, it was asking for a lot. Question number three. Do you know what FAFSA verification is? Hopefully you do. But if you don't, FAFSA verification is a federal financial aid process that ensures the information submitted on the FAFSA is correct. I've seen a lot of parents, a lot of students get selected for verification and they get very frightened because they feel like, oh, they're going to take the money away from us. And that is not true. They just don't believe something that you wrote on the FAFSA. And so what they're going to do is ask for more information from you, which could include a copy of your tax returns. They could ask for if there are custodial parents, they could ask for a notified documentation that you two are not together. It's an array of things they could ask for. And the sooner you get that done, the sooner the verification process can be over with and you can receive whatever funding they're trying to give you. But nothing will happen until the verification is done. So if you just put it on hold, you will not receive any funds from the government. Question number four. After the FAFSA application is complete, what's next? You wait. You wait until you receive financial aid awards letter or an offer from all of the universities that you placed on your FAFSA. And the wait time varies depending on university. If you're someone who has applied to Ivy League schools, they may not get you an awards letter till maybe the mid spring of your senior year. Depending if you did a state school, it may take up to 2 months. it could take a while. I did a workshop with some high school kids about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they were like, "Well, how long does it take?" I was like, "Months." They were all shocked. All of them thought that they would get their financial aid awards letter in like 2 weeks. I was like, "No, that cannot happen because millions of kids are submitting their financial aid around the same time. And so you have to give these universities time because they have to look at everybody's application, determine how much money they want to give everybody, send it out, wait. It's a whole system, and it's not just you find out in 2 weeks. It could be months that you're waiting for your financial aid awards letter. That's why the earlier you apply, the better. Question number 5. What is the maximum amount of federal funds for a Pell Grant? As of current date, it is up to $7,600, and that's a year. So for those of you who plan on going to college, when you pay for college, you don't pay for college by the year. You pay for college by the semester. So this $7,600 is split in half. So that means half of it will go to the fall, half of it will go to the spring. And when you start looking at it, if you're going to a university that charges maybe 17,000 a year, maybe 20,000 a year, and you split that up, that could be about 11, 12,000 a year, then $3,000 does not feel like a lot. It's not half. So that's why you need to be doing scholarships or figuring out other ways to figure out how to pay for college. Number 6, do you have to complete the FAFSA every year? Yes, yes. And I want to add this on, the amount can change every year. So the FAFSA depends on your family or whoever you are using's tax returns. And so if their tax returns changes or varies from year to year, then the amount you could or could not get from the government changes every year. So that's why you have to do the FAFSA every year so they can calculate those changes and award you properly. All right. So thank you to those who did the Zoom, I guess Zoom poll. Hopefully you got all the answers right or at least half of them right. All right, so what I want to do is explain the FAFSA process in about 60 seconds because a lot of people don't even know how it goes. A lot of people think that the FAFSA and financial aid are in that their terminology is the same, and it is not. FAFSA is something, and then financial aid is something separate, and there's a whole process from where you submit the FAFSA application to when you actually get the money at the school that you decided to go to. So I'm going to try to explain that in 90 seconds. Hopefully I don't go over. I went over last time. All right, so starting now. All right, so taxpayers, we are all taxpayers, and so we're paying money into taxes, and some of that money is given to the Department of Education. And so within the Department of Education, they have created the FAFSA. The FAFSA was built on helping people who could not afford to go to college. And so with that, that's how the FAFSA was created. And so I think now there's a myth that everybody who applies for the FAFSA gonna get money. No, it's truly at heart a need-based program to help people afford to go to college. So the government came up with FAFSA. FAFSA is simply the application you fill out to go to obtain free federal funds if you are eligible. So that's all it is. It is the application. And so what happens is the FAFSA comes out, the government created, they regulated, and then you complete the FAFSA. Once you complete the FAFSA, the colleges that you listed on the FAFSA application then get sent to those colleges you put on your FAFSA application. So the FAFSA then goes from FAFSA to the college the college's financial aid and scholarship office. Now, those are the people who get to decide if they want to award you scholarships, grants, loans, Pell Grants, because the government only gives that university a certain amount of money based on who their attendance and what's their expected number of people who are going to apply to that university. So once they do that, then they have to determine, who they want to go to their school, who do they want to give money to go to their school. And so that is a whole lengthy process that the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships has to go through every year. And that's why it takes so long for students to get an award letter, because they're determining who they feel is eligible and not eligible. And now, once they do decide, then it gets sent to you, the student. And from each of the universities that you have applied to, if you get accepted, you will receive a financial aid awards letter. And it is up to you and your parent or your guardian to decide based on that financial aid awards letter if you want to go to that school. So they could offer you scholarships, they could offer you grants, they could offer you student loans or work study. Those are the main four things that they can offer you in using the FAFSA. And then you decide what you want to do, what you want to take. Now, I know that was over 90 seconds, but I wanted to make sure I gave you all the information. All right. So I want to skip this slide and go to another slide because I got this question from somebody at registration about trying to understand how the FAFSA helps people who are not need based, or how do they base the FAFSA or financial aid for families who are not considered need based and things like that. And so this is kind of the breakdown that I'm going to use for this part. First of all, does the FAFSA help? And when I say does the FAFSA help, I mean, does it help for a household who is not considered um, low income household? First, let's see how the government determines what is low income. Now, the Department of Education funds this college prep program called TRIO, Upper Bound, Education Talent Search, all of those things. And this is what they use to determine um, low income levels for eligibility into those programs. And so I won't say this is exactly what the FAFSA uses, but this is close to it, close to it. So if you look at this, you'll see that for a family of one, this is what's considered, this is the household income that is considered if it's a family of one, two, three, four, five, six, all the way down to eight, and then they just add $5,500 to it per family. So this is my take on what Shamika Stevenson Davidson, with founder of Precog Solutions, feels like the government looks at when they say low income levels, and what they also take into consideration when they're trying to determine who gets Pell Grants or free money from the government. All right, so going back to does the FAFSA help? Because I had this question from one of my clients earlier today, and because her mom makes above, like, she's not considered a low income level. And so my answer to her was yes and no. Um, so just going through the grants. So the Pell Grant, which is the most popular grant that you hear about all the time, that is a need-based grant, which means a family's household income would need to be what is considered low level to obtain a Pell Grant of some sort. Now, what a lot of people don't know is when your FAFSA application is sent to those universities, you can also be eligible for state grants. And state grants are based off of need and or merit based. So it doesn't always have to be need based. So that means that if you live in the state of Louisiana, and the state of Louisiana may offer a program called TOPS, which they do. And so in for that program, you don't need to have it doesn't look at income. It looks at like it's merit based. So it looks at the ACT scores, it looks like at the curriculum that not the curriculum, the state requirements in regarding to courses that you've taken during high school and things like that. There's also other grants in Louisiana where you can you may be I'm gonna answer a question real quick. That is a good question. So no. The question was, in the state of Louisiana, if you decide to go to an out-of-state school, could you take TOPS with you, which is the program I'm mentioning right now? No, it's you strictly have to go to a university in or college in Louisiana to use TOPS funds. And that happens with a lot of the state grants that you may be eligible for. Um, you would have to attend a university in that state to obtain those state grants? That was a good question. Also, with grants, we've already talked about the state. We already talked about the minimum amount of Pell Grants, and I talked about state grants and how they vary. All right, so let's go to work study. Now, work study is also what what the federal government also pays for, and they are not just need based. They are merit based and they're need based. I like to tell students because they be having so much hope and saying, "Oh, I want to get work study." The way that work study is done at certain universities, if it kind of feels like a lottery. It feels like a lottery. You have to be selected by the university, and the process that they use, nobody knows. They do not share. So I don't know if it varies university by university or there's just one standard way that they pick work study students, but I've never been able to crack that code. I'm still working on it. Work study students, for those of you who don't know, I never said what the definition of work study is. It's basically working on or off campus for college students at a part-time level. That means minimum amount of hours for you as a college student. So it could be 20, 25. I don't think they go above 30 at some universities, which are pay ranging from $3,000 to $6,000 a semester. Now, the whole concept of work study is that um, universities want you to be able to, have some type of funding outside of scholarships and loans and things like that. But they also want you to get experience. So that's one of the key parts of getting work study is that they want you to be able to engage with if you get placed in the financial aid office, if you get placed in the library, they want you to be able to connect with the university and things like that. Learn the type of skill sets from the different departments on campus. And so that is one of the another good reason of work study. But work study is very part-time. You're not gonna be making a lot of money doing work study. Does it help? It does help. Will it help towards tuition? Now that is up to you because with work study, students get paid monthly, like a job. And so the intent is supposed to be that you'll save your work study money or some of it to help pay for your tuition, but that rarely happens. Like realistically, that does not happen on a college campus. Students spend that work study money on surviving. So that is work study. And then the dreaded loans. Nobody wants to get loans, but they're always going to be an option. Any financial aid awards letter that you receive, they're always going to have loans as an option. Anyone can get loans, need or merit based people. There are three types of loans. There's direct subsidized loans, and direct subsidized loans are loans where you do not have to pay the interest back on these loans until 6 months after you've graduated college. And so, something I like to tell my college students is if you get some extra money, if you get a scholarship, if you just something happens and you took out a loan, try to pay back that loan before you graduate. Because once you graduate, they're going to hit you with that interest. And right now, interest is at 6.39%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot if you've been getting multiple student loans to help pay for college and it adds up. So try to pay, if you do have to get a direct subsidized loan, try to like pay some of it or 1,000 of it as you go, as you collect extra money while you're in college so that you don't have to pay as much back when you graduate. And then there's direct unsubsidized loans, which they start charging you interest as soon as you take the loan out. So that means the 6.39, because it's the same for subsidized and unsubsidized, they're going to be charging you that as soon as you get that loan, which adds up if you have to get multiple loans to help pay for college. And then finally, the Parent Plus loan, um, which is a loan that parents take out to help their child pay for college. Something I want to add to that is that parents have to be eligible for the Parent Plus loan, which means you have to have acceptable an acceptable credit score. A lot of students think, oh, my parents just gonna get the Parent Plus loan, not knowing their parents' financial situation. And if their credit score is not a certain score, then they will not be eligible for the Parent Plus loan. So then you have to figure out how you're going to pay for college. And I've seen that happen a few times. Now, with these loans, uh, right now with current government administration, this is where we at, or well, this is where we are right now. Next year, most likely going to be changing. So you're probably gonna need another FAFSA workshop. But right now, this is the current limits on if you do have to get loans. So if you get a direct subsidized loan, you can borrow up to $3,500 a year. If you get a direct unsubsidized loan, you can borrow up to $2,000 a year, and that is for a total of 5,500. Lord, crazy. $5,500 per year. So if you think about the Pell Grant is only a little bit, maybe like almost $8,000. And then if you get all the loans, that's only 13, maybe $14,000. And if the university you want to go to is $19,000, $20,000, you still have to come up with some way to get the rest of that money. And I'm a strong advocate of scholarships or just figuring out something, working, things like that. But you still have to figure that out. And I don't think that hits a lot of students and families until it's right, maybe a couple months, maybe like 3 or 4 months before it's time for them to drop their kids off at college. And then finally, the Parent Plus loan. To date, you can borrow up to $20,000 for the Parent Plus loan. Now, going back to the previous slide, these are the items you need for the FAFSA. All right. First of all, you have to create a FAFSA account. All right. That's simple. That's simple, simple, simple. And this is what it is going to look like if you have not looked at it yet. So when you do decide it's time for me and my child to fill out the FAFSA, or if you are a student and you like something for me to fill out the FAFSA, this is the website, studentaid.gov. Any other website is fraudulent. Do not put your information in there, because some kids have had that happen. Not too many, but some kids have had that happen where they've been on the wrong website thinking they did the FAFSA and they did not. It needs to say U.S. Department of Education. It needs to have G-O-V at the end of it, so you know it's government. But this is the website for starting your FAFSA application. And because everything's done in advance, this right here, you click start, you move on forward. All right, then you also need to, all right, so once you have that, now you need to create your FAFSA ID. Actually, you need to create your FAFSA ID 3 days before you do the FAFSA application. It takes about 3 days, well, up to 3 days for it to be processed into the federal government system. So when you do have to use it to sign the FAFSA form, you have it. This is the page you will go on to create that. Very simple, less than 2 minutes to complete it. Now, the FSA ID is the ID that is used to sign the FAFSA application at the end. Because the FAFSA is now done fully digital or virtual, then the government has to be able to say this is Shamika Stevenson Davidson doing the FAFSA, or this is Shamika Stevenson Davidson's son doing the FAFSA. And in order for that to happen, your son has to fill out a FSA ID. You have to fill out your own separate FSA ID. And so when it gets to the bottom and you have to fill it out, you have to sign it. You will use your FSA ID as electronic signature. But please do that at least 3 days before. Well, please create a FSA ID at least 3 days before you plan on doing a FAFSA, so it will be in the system. And then these are the other items you will need to complete the FAFSA. Your email address, if you are a parent or spouse. Um, the email address is important because what has happened now with the restructure of the FAFSA application over the last couple of years is that when a student goes in and creates their FAFSA profile, usually parent and child would do it together. Now you can email the parent their part, the student does their part, and then you guys can work on your parts individually, and then both of you guys will get an email when the other person's part is done. So that means you don't have to do it at the same time together anymore. All right. You will also need to know, you also need your driver's license for the person who's filling it out and for the parent. And then you will also need your 2024 tax returns, any untaxed income, bank statement, bank account balances for whoever is filling out the household income part. So if you are the parent and if you if you are the parent and you're filling out the information for the household income, then you need all of these things to fill out that part on the FAFSA. If your child has never worked, didn't file any their own tax returns, so you will be doing a financial part, and this is what you would need. Now, for the bank account balances, I always tell parents to put zero or $100. They do not need to know what's in your bank account, nor would they ask. If you get selected for verification, they're not going to ask what's in your bank account, but they just want to know. They just want to know you got one. So yeah, so you can definitely when you do the FAFSA, you can put 100, 1,000, zero. That's all they want to know. If your child worked in 2024 and they did their own tax returns, and then they will need to include that on the FAFSA as well. If they didn't work, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. So these are all the items that you will need when it's time for you to do the FAFSA. All right, so these are the four most common FAFSA mistakes I have seen families make when they are doing the FAFSA without me or asking me after the fact. Number one, and I keep emphasizing this, not creating not creating the FAFSA ID prior to them completing the FAFSA. So if you go and you do the FAFSA and then you get to the bottom and you see it's asking for an FSA ID and you didn't do one, but now you're like, oh, I need to hurry up and do one. And so you hurry up and do it and you think just because you did it 5 seconds before trying to submit it's gonna work, it's not, and you putting it in over and over and again, that doesn't help. That actually makes it lock it, and then you'll have a bigger problem on your hand. So that's why I'm emphasizing create the FSA ID prior to completing the FAFSA application. It'll save you a lot of headache. Number two, in the FAFSA, when you're completing it, for whoever's doing the tax return part, importing that in, there's going to be a button that says IRS Direct Data Exchange. Now, that's basically the government linking your tax return to the FAFSA, which I suggest you do because then that is a big indicator that you will not get selected for verification because all the information they need is bam. You've linked it. They can look at your tax returns. They can see it matches whatever you said on the FAFSA. So I recommend that. Now, if you're somebody that don't want the government in your business, then don't select that. But don't be shocked if they ask you for stuff months later. All right. But yes, click the button. Number three, not submitting the custodial's parent profile. Now, this is for my parents that if there is documentation where a non-custodial parent has been uh providing some type of financial support for the person filling out the FAFSA, then you need to include them on the FAFSA. You may not want to, but you need to include them. Now, if no paperwork can be found, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, if no paperwork can be found, you can interpret that how you would like to. And number four is taking too long to make corrections to the FAFSA. And this typically happens with a lot of the seniors who complete the FAFSA because what happens is they've completed the FAFSA. Then they decide, oh, I want to add another school. Oh, I didn't select that I wanted housing when I was doing the FAFSA filling out for this one. Oh, this happened. I need to change it. And so they know they need to change it, but sometimes they forget or they think they did it. And when that happens, is that they forget that there's millions of other kids who are filling out the FAFSA too. So when you take too long to make these corrections and you got other kids that's doing the FAFSA as well, this delays uh your FAFSA corrections for whatever university that you're trying to make the correction for. So if you've decided now I want to add the University of Arkansas, um, and you forget to do it or you just delay in making a correction, when now it's made instead of it being like 2 months, it may be like 3 months before FAFSA gets back to you on your corrections or either university that you're waiting to hear back from with financial aid awards letter gets back to you. So if anything changes from when they decide when they are what they are putting on the FAFSA has changed, then they need to do it as soon as possible because they forget. they forget. Now, I love this part because I don't think anybody ever talks about in detail what happens when a family submits the FAFSA. They just tell them to wait, but they don't tell them what step by step what happens next. And I'm gonna send this handout to everyone who's registered for this session because if you are doing the FAFSA as a student or as a parent, like you need to know what happens next and what you need to be doing in the meantime. Because yes, we waiting, but we're waiting and we're also being diligent. All right, so starting with step one, after you and your seniors click that submit button, then you should immediately receive a FAFSA completion confirmation email, like immediately. And if you don't receive one within 48 hours, then you need to contact the federal financial aid office or the federal government and figure out where it is, because if they can't locate one on you, then you will have to do the FAFSA over. And I know this because this happened to a student of mine this earlier this year where he kept saying he submitted it and we had to call and they didn't have no record and he had to do it again. So that was 2 months of him waiting for nothing. And so all his stuff was delayed. And so, yeah, make sure you have the confirmation email. After that, after you get the confirmation email, then what happens is all the universities that your child put on the FAFSA is going to reach out to him or her individually. And they are either going to ask for more information or they're going to start working sending updates on letting you know like, okay, we have received your child's FAFSA. We received his FAFSA. He should be receiving his awards letter in 2 months, 6 weeks, a month, things like that. They're going to be keeping you updated. So this is a crucial time for the seniors to not get lazy and checking their email. They need to be checking their emails. They don't know when any of these colleges might contact them about their FAFSA application or either what the financial aid office wants to give them. Now, side note, you're only going to receive something from the financial aid office if your child has been accepted to the university. So if your child has not been accepted to the university, you probably will not be receiving any financial aid, anything from the universities from his FAFSA list. So got to get accepted to find out if they want to give you some money to go there. All right, step three. Step three is now you've gotten the financial aid awards letter or the offer letter, and now you're reviewing it. You and your child, y'all reviewing it. Y'all were looking at cost of attendance. You're looking at what scholarship, loans, grants, work study, if they're offering any of these things. Like I said earlier, we can't predict how long from step two to step three takes. It could be several weeks, it could be several months. My rule of thumb is if it's longer than 3 months, 90 days, you need to start calling somebody and figuring out what's going on. And they'll let you know. They'll let you know if they're backed up, they're delayed, if they're waiting for something from your child and they haven't received it yet. Like they will let you know. So don't feel bad or don't not contact the financial aid office at whatever university your child has been applying to. All right. So yeah, review this, review this, review this. And once you have reviewed it, then accept all the financial aid award letter offers, except the loans. So if your child gets accepted into Baylor, Prairie View, uh, Texas Christian University, Howard, if your child gets accepted to all of those schools and all of them sent your child some awards letters, but your child doesn't know where they want to go, you accept them all. You can go back and decline them whenever you want to, but accept them all. Because if you don't accept them, Sometimes I've seen universities retract the money because they think you're not interested. They don't understand that you're still trying to make the decision. So accept them all. That's why decision day, May the 1st, is very important because by May the 1st, decision day, your child should know where they're going. I think they should know by spring break. But nationally, decision day is when they should know where they're going, and that's when you can turn down the other offers so those universities can disperse the money how they want. But if you never accepted them, they can give them away anytime they want to because they're just going to assume you're not interested. So that's my rule of thumb. So that's step 4. That is step 4. And then step 5 is you have already decided where you want to go. Your child has decided where they wanted to go. And then you guys need to register for new student orientation as early as possible because that is the only way you're going to find out to the dollar amount how much it's going to cost for your child to go there that semester, the fall semester of them going to college. They can't charge you, they can't give you a definite amount of money until you go to new student orientation and they find out what your child's schedule is and they can give you the exact dollar amount. And then also, throughout this whole thing, you should have been applying for scholarships. But by then, you really gonna be trying to apply for scholarships because then you're gonna know how much it's gonna cost. And then number 6, after decision day, after you've made the decision of where you plan to go, you need to start monitoring your student portal where it talks about scholarships, grant, financial aid, like what offers the university has given you. You need to make sure it's already being posted to your account. This right here, this what gets a lot of the kids in trouble because they just assume because they accepted all of these awards offer that it like the money just supposed to be there. And for 50% of the time, that's true. But then there's another 50% of the time where you have to be on the university. You have to make sure you see it in your balance account that the money is there. The money is there, especially before you move in on campus. Before you move in on campus, that money needs to be already in your account, pending until they officially take it out from your schedule. And so this is what happens after the FAFSA. And uh it's a very stressful time. Sometimes. If you don't know what you're doing, it's a very stressful time. Now, for those of you who have not seen a financial aid awards letter or offer, this is typically what it looks like. Now, back in my day, they mailed it to you, you signed it, you mailed it back in, but everything is online now. So some universities still do the courtesy of mailing an awards letter just for your reference, but 80% of them gonna put it in your child's portal. And so they have to go into their portal and accept certain offers, but the format is going to look like this. So they're going to tell you what the cost of attendance is. And so I just want to let you know these are all estimates. These are all estimates. A lot of students get tripped up thinking this is how much it's going to cost for them to go to the school. These are all estimates, and most of the time they're fluffed up. They're a lot higher than they will be. They cannot charge you how much it costs to go to their school until you go to new student orientation, until you really select the dorm and the meal plan you are going to, until you truly books, things like that. This right here, transportation and personal, the university cannot charge you for transportation and personal. That is them saying you may need, this is how much they estimate it may cost you out of pocket for these expenses once you come to their campus. But you will not see a transportation and a personal expense on your cost of attendance. So you'll see it on here on your awards letter, but most likely you will not see it when you get your actual bill. All right, so that's cost of attendance, close to a little over $28,000 for University of Wisconsin and Madison. And then this is the estimated financial aid offer. So this is what they're offering this person. They're offering them a scholarship, tuition scholarship, right here. The Bucky's Promise tuition promise, and this is how much you're gonna get in the fall, spring total. And then this right here is a grant. I'm assuming this person lives in Wisconsin or where the university is because that's why the grant is called resident grant. And there's some money they're giving for that, and then this is a total amount of money they're giving this student is just scholarships and grants. And then you come here, you see the loans, and this is how much they're giving in the loans. And so they took, so this, so basically they took the cost of attendance, then they took how much aid the person will be getting, which includes loans, and they said this is how much it is the leftover balance once we've taken out the grant, the scholarships, and the loan. So this is how much you would have to come out with out of pocket. And this is why I say scholarships are important. We need to be doing scholarships to offset these type of costs. All right, so this is our best practices. These are our best practices when it comes to FAFSA and financial aid. Um, Learn the FAFSA terminology. I can't say that enough. Believe it or not, right now, parents are leading the way, helping their baby get all of this done. School counselors and other people at the school, college prep programs, they're helping students get their FAFSA and financial aid in order. But what happens when your baby goes to college and there's an issue and there is no uh college prep counselor, there is no high school counselor, mom and dad is at work, they can't reach them, and they have to go talk to the financial aid office themselves. This is why it's important for them to understand the FAFSA process, certain terminology when they are going into the offices and talking to the financial aid people, because they're going to use the financial aid office is going to use their terminology, and you don't want your baby to be lost or be signing up for stuff just because uh, the financial aid office told them to. So learning the FAFSA terminology. Second thing is to remember the FAFSA priority deadline. So a FAFSA priority deadline, each university, well, each state and university can set a priority deadline. It is basically when they want the FAFSA completed by so that you can get the most amount of federal and state aid uh from that university. And so check into that. Most of you, if you do your FAFSA before Christmas, you good. Because these deadlines are typically in the spring. So if you do that, that's awesome. But if you delay, then you need to look it up. Financial aid appeal. This is very crucial for when students are already matriculating through college. Because what happens if mom gets sick and mom is the leader in the household. It's like providing the household income. Like the student uses mom's financial aid, using them for their FAFSA, the household income part. And mom gets sick or loses a job or something like that. And so the student can go to the university and say, hey, this hard financial hardship has hit my family. And because of that, my FAFSA needs to change. My FAFSA is not what it says it was the year before. And so there is a financial aid appeal process at every university. And so it's just paperwork, maybe some written proof that has to be provided. And the Office of Financial Aid can go review your child's financial aid and revise it if needed. So a lot of parents don't know about that, but yes, that happens. And then finally, allow your child to do the FAFSA. I was talking about the terminology, but also allow your child to do FAFSA. It's so easy just to do it just so that it can be done and not sit there and do it with them. But let them do it. They're gonna have to do it for the next 3 to 4 years, depending on how long they're in college. So just go ahead, let them get accustomed to doing it. Let them learn the terminology through that process. And then finally, this is just my little tidbits. Preparing teens to pay for college. These are like the 4 tips I love to give parents because depending on, the relationship between you and your child or the relationship your child has with money, they don't understand that paying for college is the most expensive will be the most expensive like decision they make, rather they decide to go to a university that is 50,000 a year versus deciding to go to a community college at home. Like, it's still a financial decision, and it's their financial decision once they graduate high school. And so first thing I would say is have an authentic conversation with them about paying for college. Like, if you are the parent who has decided, I'm gonna make sure, like, for college you are good, or we going half, or if you better do these scholarships because that's all you got, make sure they know that. Because when I'm working with clients and they don't know that, they don't take certain services I offer seriously. Like, they don't do it, they don't try to do it, they don't put forth no effort. I was a couple of years ago, I had a client and I kept telling her mom that, hey, she's not doing scholarships. Like, every time I bring up scholarships, she says she don't like writing essays and she's not doing it. And then the mom kind of like blew me off with like, duh, we'll get to it. And then her mom spent all this ridiculous money on her prom, and she ended up being prom queen, I believe. She did. She was prom queen. Her mama spent all this ridiculous money on prom, and then after graduation, she was coming to me. She was like, "Hey, she needs to be doing scholarships. Like, we got the bill, and we don't have like $7,000, to drop for her to go to college." And I'm like, ma'am, I don't know what to she supposed to be doing scholarships like way back in January when I was telling you, like right now she's gonna be competing against everybody who's trying to scramble to get scholarships when she should have been doing it her whole senior year. Like, I was trying to create a plan with you and you were not. So create a plan, have the authentic conversation, then create a plan with them. Number two, hold them accountable, hold them accountable, hold them accountable. A lot happens at the school that we don't know. The counselors be giving out a whole bunch of information, and sometimes the information does not get relayed back to the parents. So you don't know what's going on or what's being offered, or sometimes there's alumni scholarships, and the student never tells the parent, and the parent can't hold them accountable. They don't know. So always make sure you're in the know of what's going on with your senior. They have a lot going on, a lot, and a lot misses their brain. So make sure you always know what's going on. I always recommend that parents ask the counselor to email them the same thing. So even if your child forgets, like, in the back of your mind, even though you're waiting on them to tell you, what's going on. And number three, teach them college readiness, financial literacy tips. Like, teach them how to meal prep. DoorDash did a study last year that said college students be spending almost $600 a month on DoorDash. That's crazy. I'm trying to figure out who's paying for that DoorDash if these college students are broke. And so, teach your child how to meal prep, how to cook. Well, cook the basic meals that they can cook in a dormitory or an apartment. Talk to them about how expensive it is to join campus organizations, and maybe they need to save up for it or work there in the summer. Because being a part of any organization is expensive. There's shirts, there's fees, there's projects, there's outings, there's conferences, there's a lot of things. And then also teach them how to budget. Teach them how to budget. I had a parent and he asked me how much should he give his child a month. Like, he told his child that he would give her a certain amount of money a month, and he was asking me, what do I think? And I started asking him questions like, well, your child, like, does she like to go out a lot? Does she someone who gets like food? Like, could she cook? Could she figure it out? And so together, I told him what it should be. I was like, well, you should be giving her this. I was like, that's enough for her to try to budget, but not enough for her to struggle. So, and that's where you want to be, the line between struggling and budgeting. And then lastly, paid services. Get your child some paid services, like pre-college solutions. If you want them, if you want to work with them, we work with them on scholarships, trying to get them to maximize scholarship opportunities. We work with them on transitioning to college. So we work with them with an array of things because financial literacy in the college prep space is a big deal for us. We know that a lot of kids are suffering because they don't know that, and they're dropping out of school with mass amount of student debts, and that's what we're trying to alleviate here. All right. And so with that, I thank you for giving us an hour of your time. We are trying to build up our social media, so feel free to follow us on TikTok as we're doing mini workshop sessions and things like that. And if there is no questions, I'm taking questions right now. So if anybody got questions, we can definitely answer some questions. And I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you, Dr. Brown, for being on here.